Hi again, and welcome to the Recharge Your Marriage Show, where nothing is taboo and nothing is off limits for helping you to refresh, reconnect, and reignite your relationship. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Zev Halpern. We have an exciting show tonight. Our marriage panel guests include Elaine Gibson, coach and author, Dr.Melanie Recaurte, sex therapist, and Mick Carbo, leadership coach. We'll be digging deep into relationship topics that you've told us you want to hear more about. Cheating, fantasy, marital dissatisfaction. We're talking marriage, happy and not so happy. What's happening in your relationship? Are you on automatic pilot, just going through the motions, or are you really in touch with your spouse's world so you can help each other be the best you both can be at work and at play? We always value your point of view, so let us know what's on your mind and what relationship challenges you want us to focus on. Send your comments directly to me at zev@rechargeyourmarriagenow.com. Please sit back, chillax, open your heart and mind, and consider some ways you can recharge and rekindle your marriage. Here's today's couple FYI. We meet, we date, we fall in love. Some of us marry, and when the smoke clears, we ask ourselves, how and what drew our attention to this other person who I seem to love? We get used to each other's behaviors, moments, moods, families, well, maybe not families, friends, and we live happily ever after. Really? Buzz. Sometimes, for many, the first thing to go is sex, but perhaps the biggest is our mutual understanding. We care for each other, but we cease to be the understanding partner. For obvious reasons, we tire of certain behaviors like yelling or continuous criticizing. We stop hearing what our partners are saying because the delivery may take on an angry or dissatisfied tone. If this isn't your relationship, we applaud you and we ask that you please bottle your mutual understanding approach to your relationship so the rest of us couples could share your marital bliss. And please come on the show and tell us all about it. The short and quick point here is, where did the understanding go? How can we navigate through the murky climate of our relationship to establish mutual understanding of each other's needs, desires, and life goals? Mutual understanding can be the pivotal aspect that carries us through the thick and thin of marriage. Just a suggestion here for your consideration: foster a climate of mutual understanding, or open new paths to understanding if it's possible in your relationship, and this will help you both survive the fights, disappointments, frustrations, and challenges life places in our paths. Honey, please understand me, because then we both can work to steer our relationship forward in meeting our needs and desires. Take a look at this, and we'll be right back to introduce you to tonight's marriage panel. Welcome back. One quick thing before I introduce the marriage panel. After the show, please take advantage of my new free course offering, Recipe for a Magnificent Marriage. Just log on to getmycourseforfree.com. You won't be disappointed. And now, let's meet tonight's marriage panel. Elaine Gibson is an extraordinary woman, cited as one of the world's top 10 natural cancer survivors by Extreme Health Radio, having beaten stage 4 cancer without traditional protocols. Elaine shares her hard-won lessons for living a clean, healthy, and natural lifestyle. Today, Elaine is a published author, sought-after motivational speaker, workshop facilitator, private coach, and a green juicing loving grandmother. As founder and head coach of Carbo Coaching, Mick Carbo brings to the table his 18 years of experience navigating the challenges of entrepreneurship. He helps entrepreneurs and business leaders effectively grow and lead their teams to victory. Through Mick's coaching, leaders learn how to think bigger, be bigger, and create unprecedented results. Dr.Melanie Recaurte is a licensed psychologist and certified sex therapist. She's worked with diverse individuals of different races, ethnicities, religions, sexual orientations in a variety of settings, including inpatient hospitals and outpatient clinics, as well as universities. She focuses on helping individuals and couples navigate the challenges faced when different aspects of their identity conflict with one another or themselves. So welcome, everybody. Nice to see everybody. I brought a little thing in tonight. I used to have one of these. It had a little Jamaica man on it, and he did all kinds of acrobatics, and this is how Zev does stress management. You can imagine me doing this. But this one, my daughter just brought me a new one as a surprise, and I looked at it, and I went, well, what's the story here? Is this some PC toy? Because look, is it a man? Is it a woman? Or is it not? I'm just not sure.
Could be anything.
So now we can say that the Recharge Your Marriage show is PC. Everybody's invited. We're all good, and yippee-doo.
All
if you
about
want to
diversity.
play, that's right. We're all about diversity. So in starting out, what do you think it is about marriage that makes it so funny to comedians? Like, why do comedians take marriage on the road that they do all the time? Can any of you think, like, what is it about it? What's the deal?
Well, I think it's such a funny, interesting question. I would think that it's probably one of the only things, or the most prominent things, that everybody knows about. Everybody's experienced, if they're not married, they experienced being in a home where there's a marriage. So it's something that everybody can relate to. So they probably have a bigger audience.
So it's kind of been there, done that. I get it. Oh, I remember that stuff.
Right.
Or
and everybody does.
Anybody else? What do you think?
I think for me, thinking about my own experience of my marriage, it's literally a comedy every single day.
Oh!
I mean, there's just like the dichotomy of the conversations that happen. There's like controversy where one person wants this thing today and they want a different thing tomorrow, and yeah, it's just a living comedy moment to moment.
Because it's a wellspring for comedians, since the beginning of time. What do you think, Melanie? Why? What's the deal?
I think it's one of those things, like Elaine said, that everybody can, to some degree, relate to. Be like, even if you've mainly been in friendships, or your romantic relationships have not ended in marriage and so on, everybody can relate to being in relationships and the hardships related to relationships, and making it lighter or making fun of it can help people sometimes just feel better about their lives. And
unless you're feeling the pain that everybody's laughing, but you're feeling that particular pain, or you go into you're newly married, or you're not, and your feminine hygiene products, male hygiene. I mean, there are more products now for people than there ever was in the whole world.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you go into it, you go, what is that? And they explain to you, what is that? And it just, I see a lot of comedians, and it just never seems to end. They're just like a thing that continues to give. Marriage gives funny stuff, whether it's
Good
Vegas
material.
or here or whatever. Why don't people who are in bad marriages a lot of times express their dissatisfied reasons and their dissatisfied feelings? Some of them do, but why? What would prevent them? Well, there's so many people, they don't say anything. why wouldn't they say anything? Why wouldn't you say something to your
They're
spouse?
afraid. I think oftentimes
Afraid of
people
what?
are afraid of being vulnerable. If they express their unhappiness, they're afraid of being rejected, or if they express it, maybe they're afraid of working on it. You know, to some degree, maybe they're unhappy enough, or they've allowed it to go on so long that by the time they're interested in expressing anything, they might be interested in just walking out the door.
Maybe they're afraid of their spouse. You know,
Sure.
because there are people who are,
Yeah.
and who are not so sure about what it is they can say, how far can they go, and so they must talk to themselves, or they
Right.
talk to counsel, their friends, and they hear it, you know, but this thing that's supposed to go on doesn't happen because there's this reason in a lot of marriages that prevents people from talking about their dissatisfaction. What are you thinking, Elaine?
Well, could you see my wheels?
Yeah, I
Could you see?
did. I saw it.
So I'm going to take you back and turn the tape, rewind to an earlier part in the marriage. If it's gotten to a point where it's bad, then the conversations and the work that needs to be done should have happened here. And if they don't happen here, then it elevates and exasperates, and then it's too hard to do.
Also, there's something familiar about it at that point. There's something familiar about the struggle and the pain and the discomfort that they feel in that moment, and that familiarity is actually more comfortable than being vulnerable, like Melanie said, and actually talking about it and working through those challenges, because somebody might get their feelings hurt.
So you're saying people get comfortable with problems.
That's exactly
and they just
right.
don't act. They just kind of, they adjust, not happily, but they adjust and they get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And they're
which is
unwilling
a
to risk.
amazing human quality.
Yes. And they're unwilling to risk whatever negative feeling or emotion might come up if they try to do something different.
The other thing also is when things start to go wrong, the tendency is to blame the partner, that it's the partner's behavior, when in actuality, it's us. It's who we are, it's how we handle things. If we let them get away, then we're not working on ourselves. It's hard to
If you look outside yourself, people, you know, have either they don't look outside themselves, or they do.
Or they do, and there's
look out.
very little in between.
Right.
There's
Or,
very little
you know,
in
the
between.
unfortunate circumstance of marrying a narcissist when there's no hope. you
Right,
know, not
right.
much hope.
Right.
Perhaps a little. Melanie can tell us about a little hope. I've had plenty of experiences with, you know, very difficult kind of thing.
True.
So when is cheating, good old cheating, when is cheating cheating? In our day, there's big controversy. You know, we got the president, you know, remember? I did not have, you know, with that woman. When is cheating cheating? There's a lot of things now that some people say are, and some people say they're not. For instance, pornography. Is that cheating?
I think it depends. I think cheating is something that exists outside of an agreement. You know, inherently a marriage is an agreement to, you know, commit to one another for, you know, the duration or for a certain amount of time or whatever.
Or for the
depending on-
parameters of the agreement.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I think that, you know, if in some relationships, some people might not relate to pornography as cheating, but then they might, you know, indulge in pornography and they find out that the other person in the relationship does think it's cheating, and then perhaps a new agreement needs to be made.
I remember a person coming to see me, and a couple who was very concerned. She was, because she saw he was watching porn, and also on the side was this thing where there was this thing that says, "Hey, call me," right? So he was looking at the porn.
Yeah.
He wasn't looking to hook up with some of the craziness that they have going on those sites. However, she saw it as what it was, you know,
Yeah.
as what she saw, and she couldn't get past that. The other part. Well, what else? What else about you?
I think it really, really depends on the individual couple, as you said, and the contracts that they have. Because, for example, even couples that have open marriages or are in polyamorous relationships, they would think certain behaviors are considered cheating. So it's interesting to see how media changes things and how things change from generation to generation, and the younger generation seem to be very open to a variety of different behaviors
So what
that in the
might be
past would have
cheating
never
for
been
one
okay.
will not even be close to
But it's
cheating
about that
on
agreement.
the
What
other.
did they
You know, if
say?
they have some kind of agreement of whatever their agreement is to do this or to do that. Can your marriage partner solve all your problems? Can they, you know, people who get married thinking that, you know, that this person is going to save them, a little reality. What should a person, instead of be thinking? What should they think? Not that this person can save me. Who can save them? They can save them.
We can,
I
we,
mean,
we can only solve.
So, I mean, meeting all your needs. A lot of people get married thinking, I'm going to get all my needs met. What's wrong with that kind of thinking?
It reminds me of that old saying, people say you complete me. But if we're relating to that other person as our, you know, somebody who completes us, then it inherently says that we're incomplete without
Exactly.
anybody or anything outside of us. So I think that the answer is to, for couples to each individually learn how to love themselves and get everything that they need from themselves, and then the other person just becomes a support structure almost to make things even better.
And I love that idea, the support structure. The other person specifically kind of like bandwidth in a computer, right? Each person has an individual bandwidth, and then when they're put together, you get all this extra bandwidth. That's kind of how I think about it. That person kind of might provide the additional support so things feel lighter in your life, but not necessarily be everything that you need.
You're my everything, right? You're my everything.
We have this idea that a marriage or a relationship is a 50-50 proposition. Well, that's half empty on both sides. It has to be 100% and 100%, because if you're completing me, then I'm judging the way you're doing it. And if you're not going to do it the way I would do it. I mean, and that's in little things. So we have to just really understand that we have to bring 100% of what we have, who we are, and expect the other person to do that. And then you're sharing things. You're not, like you said, incomplete.
And it would be extremely helpful if you knew what you're agreeing to, which a lot of people are married, and they just don't. But anyway, that was a really interesting.
And what you just said requires communication.
Right.
A special with a big capital C
Yes.
for communication.
Right.
So let's move to the Sexpectations part of this discussion.
Okay.
So we all fantasize, except for the liars, I guess. You know, they don't want to tell us that they fantasize. Okay, don't tell me that you fantasize. We see, you know, a beautiful woman and we go, that sure would help my attitude readjustment. Or we see, you know, some hunk, you know, and go, well, that, you know, why can't he just be just like that, even though we don't know really what's going on in there. Is it better to keep your fantasies to yourself, or is it better to let them be known in your marriage? What do you think? It's a big deal now. It's huge because some people are experimenting with telling their spouses, and some of them are having great results, and some of them are, you know, crushed, you know, that their mate doesn't share their, you know, whatever they think, or the mate thinks they're kinky, or something like that. What do you think?
I think, well, go ahead.
I guess what I was gonna ask you was, how does somebody get here when they have that disconnect, sexually, physically? I mean, how does it automatically, how does it show up years later? Do you not know that when you start out?
Meaning what? Meaning?
What your likes, your dislikes. I mean, I can understand that as we each grow individually, we can grow in different directions. So when you talk about the fantasizing, seeing somebody, or there's a difference in fantasizing for fun, because you're like, but there's a difference kind of fantasizing that you want your partner to be that person.
Oh, yeah. To step into the role. To step into the role.
To be that fantasized.
Be my medieval hunk.
Right, exactly. It's
Be
like,
my,
really?
Please.
Right.
Be my medieval hunk. What are you talking
Right.
about? But the issue is, what happens if they don't? What happens when they're crushed? What's a person to do? The person won't. What do you do with that? You sit there and you go, I'm in big trouble now because I got these fantasies and I've let it out of the bag, and person holds it against them. I mean, any idea what to do with that, Melanie?
I think that's where it does depend on the fantasy. I think it is useful to a little bit at a time for partners to communicate their interests, wants, desires, and so on. But it is also important to have a sense of privacy. Each person's entitled to their sense of privacy, and also to ask themselves ahead of time, hey, am I getting in a relationship or getting married to someone that I feel completely safe and comfortable with? So if the answer to that question is no, and you wouldn't feel comfortable sharing certain fantasies and so on, then is that the relationship you really want to be in?
Like
And
you
let's
go
say
away-
you share that and the other person's completely destroyed or furious about what you might fantasize about. Again,
What kind of weird stuff have you been into lately?
Right.
Like they're going or they go away from her the next day at the breakfast table, or goes, where did that come from? You've been with somebody. There's all kinds of things that it brings up when all of a sudden people, watch a show. Maybe they're watching it and they go, yeah, maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll just,
Right.
tonight I'll say, hey, why don't we, and I get like smashed, just get out of here, get your, who do you think you married? I mean, I've heard this from people. It's very disappointing.
because I
to
think none
people.
of us, though, let anyone into every single one of our inner thoughts, right? The world
Right.
would combust if we let everybody into our inner thoughts. I think there is that kind of a certain cautiousness, and you have to be very thoughtful about what you're willing to share about yourself, even with the people closest to you, because some things are hurtful or not useful to share.
I mean, in middle school, wasn't sitting there. The teacher wasn't talking about, one day you're going to be married, and you're going to be thinking about something, and what are you going to do with it? I didn't remember having a schooling,
Right.
and what I'm supposed to do with that moment of my life, where I'm like, was something wrong with me, which a lot of people think, yes, especially first-time masturbators, they think, whoa, either I have a secret that the world doesn't know about, or, ask a 10-year-old, find out what they're thinking.
Zev, the other thing that happens is that we grow at different rates. So somebody might, one of the,
It's a big deal.
it
what you're
is a
talking
big
about.
deal. So somebody may grow here and the other person is still here, and that's when a lot of
It's true. That's when a lot of discord
imbalances
happens
happen,
because people
right.
do, somebody there is moving along and someone's growing at this rate, and they expose themselves to, some things that they weren't open to when they first got married.
Right.
They're not the same. I mean,
Exactly.
most people aren't
Right.
the same when they first got married. But this particular issue is a bit of a troublesome issue because it's just so out there, and there's so many temptations. Our world is filled. It's multiplied since I was younger to astronomical. The amount of temptation. But anyway, this was a great panel. We talked about some really cool stuff. And thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Mick. Thank you, Melanie, for a great
Thank
panel.
you.
To
Thanks
find
for
out
having us.
more about our marriage panel guests, here's how to contact them. To connect with Elaine Gibson, to connect with Mick Carbo, to connect with Dr. Melanie Recaurte, my consulting and coaching practice has allowed me the privilege and opportunity to work with couples with a wide array of relationship and marital challenges, including infidelity, communication, sexual concerns, both face-to-face in Maryland and virtually all over the world through my online relationship and marriage coaching practice. I invite you to find out more about how I can counsel and coach your marriage through my signature programs. just go to rechargeyourmarriagenow.com. Get in touch with me. You can begin to enrich your marital communication skills. Be heard and listened to. Say what you need to say to each other. Resolve some of that raw marital conflict. Reconnect for a deeper, more fulfilling relationship. Spice up that marriage. Don't some of you want to feel the love again? Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Please like my Facebook page. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which has this show on it. Check out the Recharge Your Marriage podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. Finally, and I'll ask the panel to perhaps help me try a little bit how to end this, try some forgiveness if you can. Hug, kiss, anything else that might be a good thing for people to do?
Yes,
On
talk.
dates.
Talk.
Yeah, date night. Yes.
Date night. Get out more. Have a little fun.
Try some fantasies.
Dance.
Try some fantasies.
Dance.
Laugh a little. Dance.
Dance
Talk-
it out.
Dance it out. Talk about what you need from each other and your marriage. Do something novel. Say you're sorry sometimes. Remember, we're the sum of our mistakes and our successes. So it's okay. We're only human. You can try again. I'm Zev Halpern. See you next time for the Recharge Your Marriage Show.